Hi friends! Welcome to Poetry with Jenny by Candlelight. I'll think of a better name for that, but I thought since it's the end of October, which I am wrapping to the end, I would finally do what I promised and read you some Victorian poems. So I've been requested to read a poem by Elizabeth Barret Browning, and this is her infamous Sonnet 43 from Sonnets from the Portuguese. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight for the ends of being and ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life, and, if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. Next I'm going to read one of my favourite poems from one of my favourite poets. This is Under the Waterfall by Thomas Hardy. Whenever I plunge my arm like this in a basin of water, I never miss the sweet, sharp scent of a fugitive day, fetched back from its thickening shroud of grey. Hence the only prime and real love rhyme that I know by heart, and that leaves no smart, is the pearl of a little valley fall, about 3 spans wide and 2 spans tall, over a table of solid rock, and into a scoop of the self-same block, the pearl of a runlet that never ceases, in stir of kingdoms, in wars, in pieces. With a hollow, boiling voice it speaks, and has spoken since hills were turfless peaks. And why gives this, the only prime I dear to you, for real love rhyme? And why does plunging your arm in a bowl full of spring water bring throbs to your soul? Well, under the fall in a crease of the stone, though where precisely none ever has known, jammed darkly, nothing to show how prized, and by now with its smoothness opalized, is a drinking glass, for down that pass my lover and I walked under a sky of blue with a leaf-wove awning of green in the burn of August to paint the scene, and we placed our basket of fruit and wine by the runlet's rim where we sat to dine. And when we had drunk from the glass together, arched by the oak copse from the weather, I held the vessel to rinse in the fall, where it slipped and sank, and was past recall. Though we stooped and plumbed the little abyss with long bared arms, there the glass still is. And as said, if I thrust my arm below cold water in basin or bowl, a throe from the past awakens a sense of that time, and the glass we used, and the cascades rhyme, the basin seems the pool, and its edge the hard, smooth face of the brookside ledge, and the leafy pattern of chinaware, the hanging plants that were bathing there. By night, by day, when it shines all hours, there lies intact that chalice of ours, and its presence adds to the rhyme of love persistently sung by the fall above. No lip has touched it since his and mine, in turns therefrom, sipped lovers' wine. Next I'm going to read In an Artist Studio by Christina Rossetti. I actually read this collection for Victober, and I think a little bit of context might be helpful here. So she's writing about Lizzie Siddal, who was her brother Dante Gabriel Rossetti's wife and model and muse. He was a Pre-Raphaelite artist and he used her in most of his paintings, so she's writing about looking at his studio and that Lizzie appears over and over again in all his different paintings. In an Artist Studio by Christina Rossetti. One face looks out from all his canvases. One self-same figure sits, or walks, or leans. We found her hidden just behind those screens. That mirror gave back all her loveliness. A queen in opal or in ruby dress, a nameless girl in freshest summer greens, a saint, an angel, every canvas means the same one meaning, neither more nor less. He feeds upon her face by day and night, and she with true, kind eyes looks back on him, fair as the moon and joyful as the light. Not one with waiting, nor with sorrow dim, not as she is, but was when hope shone bright. Not as she is, but as she fills his dream. And finally tonight I've been requested to read The Lady of Shalott, which is great because it's probably one of the best known and beloved Victorian poems, and also Tennyson was the poet laureate for a really long time. Queen Victoria really loved him and his work. So here we go, The Lady of Shalott by Lord Alfred Tennyson. On either side the river lie long fields of barley and of rye that clothe the wold and meet the sky, and through the field the road runs by to many-towered Camelot, and up and down the people go, gazing where the lilies blow, round an island there below, the island of Shalott. Willows whiten, aspens quiver, little breezes dusk and shiver through the wave that runs for ever by the island in the river, flowing down to Camelot. 4 grey walls and 4 grey towers overlook a space of flowers, and the silent isle embowers the Lady of Shalott. By the margin, willow-veiled, slide the heavy barges trailed by slow horses, and unhailed the shallop fitteth silken sailed, skimming down to Camelot. But who hath seen her wave her hand, or at the casement seen her stand? Or is she known in all the land, the Lady of Shalott? Only reapers reaping early, in among the bearded barley, hear a song that echoes cheerly, from the river winding clearly down to towered Camelot. And by the moon the reaper weary, piling sheaves in uplands airy, listening whispers, "'Tis the fairy, Lady of Shalott." There she weaves by night and day a magic web with colours gay. As she is heard a whisper say, "A curse is on her if she stay to look down to Camelot." She knows not what the curse may be, and so she weaveth steadily, and little other care hath she, the Lady of Shalott. And moving through a mirror clear that hangs before her all the year, shadows of the world appear. There she sees the highway near, winding down to Camelot. There the river eddy whirls, and there the surly village churls, and the red cloaks of market girls pass onwards from Shalott. Sometimes a troop of damsels glad, an abbot on an ambling pad, sometimes a curly shepherd lad, or long-haired page in crimson clad, goes by to towered Camelot. And sometimes through the mirror blue the knights come riding 2 and 2. She hath no loyal knight and true, the Lady of Shalott. But in her web she still delights to weave the mirror's magic sights, for often through the silent nights a funeral with plumes and lights and music went to Camelot. Or when the moon was overhead came 2 young lovers lately wed. "I am half sick of shadows," she said, the Lady of Shalott. A bowshot from her bower eaves, he rode between the barley sheaves. The sun came dazzling through the leaves, and flamed upon the brazen greaves of bold Sir Lancelot. A red-crossed knight for ever kneeled to a lady in his shield, that sparkled on the yellow field beside remote Shalott. The gemmy bridle glittered free, like to some branch of stars we see, hung in the golden galaxy. The bridle bells rang merrily as he rode down to Camelot, and from his blazoned baldric slung a mighty silver bugle hung, and as he rode his armour rung beside remote Shalott. All in the blue unclouded weather, thick jewelled shone the saddle leather, the helmet and the helmet feather burned like one burning flame together as he rode down to Camelot. as often through the purple night, below the starry clusters bright, some bearded meteor trailing light moves over still Shalott. His broad clear brow in sunlight glowed, on burnished hooves his war-horse trode, from underneath his helmet flowed his coal-black curls as on he rode down to Camelot. From the bank and from the river he flashed into the crystal mirror, tirra-lirra by the river sang Sir Lancelot. She left the web, she left the loom, she made 3 paces through the room, she saw the water lily bloom, she saw the helmet and the plume, she looked down to Camelot. Out flew the web and floated wide, the mirror cracked from side to side. The curse has come upon me, cried the Lady of Shalott. In the stormy east wind straining, the pale yellow woods were waning, the broad stream in his banks complaining, heavily the low sky raining over towered Camelot. Down she came and found a boat, beneath a willow left afloat, and round about the prow she wrote, the Lady of Shalott. And down the river's dim expanse, like some bold seer in a trance, seeing all his own mischance with a glassy countenance, did she look to Camelot. And at the closing of the day she loosed the chain and down she lay, the broad stream bore her far away, the Lady of Shalott, lying robed in snowy white that loosely fell to left and right, the leaves upon her falling light. Through the noises of the night she floated down to Camelot, and as the boat-head wound along the willowy hills and fields among, they heard her singing her last song, the Lady of Shalott. Heard a carol mournful, holy, chanted loudly, chanted lowly, till her blood was frozen slowly, and her eyes were darkened wholly, turned to towered Camelot. For ere she reached upon the tide the first house by the waterside, singing in her song she died, the Lady of Shalott. Under tower and balcony, by garden wall and gallery, a gleaming shape she floated by, dead pale between the houses high, silent into Camelot. Out upon the wharfs they came, knight and burgher, lord and dame, and round the prow they read her name, the Lady of Shalott. Who is this, and what is here? And in the lighted palace near died the sound of royal cheer, and they crossed themselves for fear, all the knights of Camelot. But Lancelot mused a little space. He said, "She has a lovely face. God, in his mercy, lend her grace, the Lady of Shalott." If you liked this and you would like me to do this again, feel free to request a poem, or just, if you like it, just tell me, because I think this is quite niche. I'm not sure if people will enjoy this particularly, but there you go, that was my best dramatic reading of Victorian poetry, and I'm sad Victober's over, and I really can't wait for it to be October next year. Until next Victober.